I'm gonna make this like as brief as possible so that I don't have to worry about a bunch of people coming here and saying, "Oh my God, you're streaming," when in actuality I'm just doing this to make a video. So, hello guys, I'm Wire Guitars. I wanted to talk to you guys very briefly about Midas on Earth Spirit, and then I also kind of wanted to give you a little bit of a tidbit or like an update, I guess, if you guys have been curious, which I know you guys have been curious about where I've been. So, first we'll talk about the interesting thing, I guess, the more interesting thing, which is Midas on Earth Spirit. I want to give a very, very brief discussion about this because my reasoning for why I don't want to get Midas on Earth Spirit is like I think it's very sound, and I think this is like a black and white discussion. Like, I don't think that there's really too much room for debate here. So that's why what I'll just give it, and you tell me, guys, what you guys think about it. Okay? So I could do visuals. I'm gonna do a quick visual. I'll get paint loaded up. I probably should have done this prior to starting the camera here. But here, monitor capture. All right. So here's effectiveness. Text. Can I get effectiveness? Just imagine there's an innis. Okay, effectiveness on Earth Spirit, okay? Here it is. Effectiveness can be measured by either a damage perspective, and this is true for most heroes, but Earth Spirit is like the most common because he really only has damage and utility. He doesn't have like, you know, healing or some shit like that. He has utility through like saving people, but he doesn't heal them or something like that, which can be measured in like raw numbers, right? His utility is immeasurable from a numerical standpoint. His damage can be measured and his utility can be measured, but both in different ways. So we'll talk about that, okay? So as Earth Spirit, as the game goes on, right, for Earth Spirit, his damage wanes. Do you know what the word wanes means? I'll show you what the word wanes means. Some of you guys might not know what this word means. Wanes, or like if something were to wane, it means it decreases in vigor, power, or extent. It becomes weaker, basically. So where's paint? Basically, over time, as Earth Spirit, your damage wanes, but your utility increases. Does that make sense? So like, if this is like 0, 1. Again, I said that we can't really measure his utility from a numerical standpoint, but if we had to, all right, if we had to break that rule, Kappa, this is how it would happen: is you'd be like, man, at the start of the game, not really at the start of the game, actually, I should correct that. Come around level 7. So here, let me erase this because this is kind of inaccurate. I wanna clear the air here. Fuck. Alright, just imagine, I'm like the teacher. You guys have had this happen to you before, I'm sure. Like a teacher in a classroom that... Where's the paintbrush? Okay. Teacher in a classroom that like has a full whiteboard of shit, and then they erase it, but there's that speck that's like right up there in the top left corner that you're like, erase that, please! Like your OCD takes over, whatever. Anyways. So, okay, check this out. The start of the game, you really have... you have utility... But especially with the nerf, your utility is it's pretty much a Q, right? You can kick people, and then if you hit level 3, I'm talking the very start of the game, your damage and your utility is like nothing. Okay, so it's we'll give it this. Okay, your damage is like nothing, but you start like over here. Okay, because you do have a little bit of utility. Like pull doesn't pull allies anymore, so you pull a creep, but that's not like utility. That's just like lane helping, or that's like lane sustain. That's not utility. That's not raw. Oh my god, a level 1 team fight broke out. What the fuck is the Earth Spirit gonna do? Well, you can slow somebody for 80% for 2 seconds, which is pretty damn good. So we'll start it over here, right? But you can only slow one person like that. You can also stun a bunch of people, but it's like a mini stun almost. It's like 0.75 or 0.5 seconds or some shit like that. So your utility, it's decent, right? You're not like a fucking Bane that can hold somebody there for 4 seconds, but you've got some utility. It's not amazing though. Okay, you've only got one ability. Let's chill out here, okay? As the game progresses, right, your utility very it moderately increases to about, this is the 2. Don't get persuaded, or don't get like deceived, okay? I'm not trying to show a huge gap in utility. It goes from 1 to 2, but your damage skyrockets, okay? You become like a burst mage of sorts, okay? You have 200 damage on your Q, 200 damage on your E, and then you've got 100 damage on your W, and that can be chained together to be like consistent, like it can be chained together, be consistent and almost instant. Okay, so you basically have a 500 damage nuke. You're kind of like a walking. I don't want to say Lena, because she has more burst damage, especially if she hits her W and her Q. Who's a hero that has like moderate burst damage? I don't know. Fuck, I can't think immediately off the top of my head of who has like moderate burst damage, like Earth Spirit. But you have moderate burst damage. You have, I mean, with magic resistance taken into account, you have about like 125 less damage. So I think it's 375 burst damage total against most heroes. Like that's pretty decent, right? So we'll say your damage is high. Like that's just burst damage. I'm sorry, it's not just decent. It's amazing because of your ulti. But this is like burst damage included. You know, if this was just prolonged damage, right? If we were only counting prolonged damage, then Venomancer would be higher, like the highest of them all, right? But we're not just counting prolonged damage. We're factoring in the fact that not every fight is won over the course of an hour, right? Some fights only last 10 seconds. Or even 5, depending on how good the initiation was. So you have, Earth Spirit has it all. Come the mid game, come level 11, which is your prime time, you have pretty high burst damage, and you have pretty damn good, I'd say almost amazing, if it wasn't for the fact that it can be countered by purges. Almost amazing sustained damage, okay? So you're fucking king. But your utility is kind of lackluster, right? You don't have Ags. Usually around level 11, you probably don't have Ags unless you straight rushed it, in which case your utility is still pretty bad because you don't have the mana to sustain all your abilities, so you can't actually properly assist your team through utility. So your utility is kind of like, it's a 2, maybe it's a 3. Right? Maybe let's not give him a 3. He doesn't deserve a 3 because you're not saving people. You're just your utility comes from the fact that you can stun and silence people for a very long duration, which is good, but it's not as amazing as it will be. I guess that's what it's probably better than most. Earth Spirit, even at level 11 without Ags, probably has more utility than most heroes in the game, but it's not as good as it's going to be, so that's what we're trying to illustrate here. Okay? Then what happens from this point? Your damage wanes, as we talked about, but your utility, it goes fucking through the roof, actually. Maybe if you get an Octarine or an Ags or like a, I don't know, what's another super good late game? I'm kind of like not really counting mech into this, but you could throw mech in here too, you know? Like, because like usually Earth Spirit's items, this is what brings me to the next debate, right? This is like the typical Earth Spirit curve, okay? Where around this point you have the most damage, and you have like for a utility damage trade-off, you're at your peak, so to speak, right? You have pretty good utility and you have damn good amazing damage, whereas over here you'd be lucky to fucking kill their supports in some cases over here in the later stages of the game, depending on whether or not it's an Ogre Magi or like a fucking Oracle, right? Even Oracle can purge your shit off. Basically, if it's not like a Lion, and even Lion can CC the fuck out of you if you try to get on him after you. You better, I don't know, very few supports are even going to die to you at this stage of the game. Solo. Although, to be fair, getting solo kills in late stages of the game is pretty unheard of in general, unless somebody's fucking up. So, whatever, I'm getting too technical here. What I'm trying to say is, this is the name of the game for you Earth Spirits, Earth Spirit players out there, for the most part, right? Most of your games are going to be like right here. You're like, this is your prime time. This is when you get about 3,000 or 4,000 net worth. You have your bottle, you have arcane boots maybe, if you went that route. You have like maybe some other item, like an earned or some shit. And then you have one medium tier item. What is medium tier item? Let's look it up. Dota items. I'll show you all the, well, I'm not gonna, this is not an item guide. This is I guess kind of a continuation of my build discussion. How long have we been going for? Fucking 9 minutes? Shit, dude. Nobody's gonna watch this shit. Alright. If you choose to watch this, oh my god, I can't find all the items. Alright, basically, any medium tier item could be classified by something between the cost range of 2 to 2,500 gold, okay? If it's between 20, if it's between 2,000 to 2,500 gold, it's like a medium tier item. 3,000, you kind of get in that upper echelon, and then anything obviously above 4,000 is like a higher tier item. Like, you know, you'd be lucky to get any of those in a game when you're playing 5 position. 3 position, you can get one of them, but your usefulness is usually, that's why you send Tidehunter in the offlane. Okay, that's why you send it's not why you send Broodmother in the offlane, but that's why you send some sometimes they used to send Void in the offlane so we can get like a Mask of Madness or even sometimes like Russian Ags, which was kind of weird, but mostly just to get levels so that he could hit level 6. This was like 6.81, but like hit level 6, TP to a different lane. And back when he had his old abilities and Time Walk was super long, you just jump in, you'd kill 2 people because you get a good Chronosphere. But especially this is why you send Tide in the offlane, is because Tide is a hero with Kraken Shell, With moderate levels of Kraken Shell and Anchor Smash, he can zone the shit out of supports because he doesn't feel their harass, and he can just walk up to him and punch him, and then use Anchor Smash and shit with its low mana cost, and then get farmed that way, right? And then he wouldn't get like amazing farm, but he would usually get enough farm to get like boots, right? Maybe even arcanes. Some consumables would help him out, of course, as well. And I don't really know if this happens anymore, but like I said, it used to happen it was pretty common, is he would just farm a little bit, and then he'd eventually get a Blink Dagger. And it was with that first 2,000 to 2,100 gold, because Blink Dagger's 2,150, right? That he would, or is it 2,250? Oh my god, I'm not even gonna look it up. He would use that gold though to turn that into his hero. Basically, he would be like, okay, I've got the gold that makes my hero useful. Let's go do things. Okay. You don't really send heroes in the off lane to farm an exorbitant. I think this is the word. Yeah. You don't send heroes in the offlane to farm an exorbitant amount of gold, okay? You are usually sending somebody in the offlane to farm, at most, 1,500 to 2,000 gold. That's if they can handle it. If they can't, if you're sending a hero that just gets fucking shat on in the offlane, like Meepo, right? Like, let's send Meepo in the offlane against a tri-lane with a triple stun lineup, right? Just good luck, right? But if you're sending a hero like Earth Spirit, who can constantly he can pull creeps and constantly keep them nearest tower, right? Under tower, you can expect him to get some pretty good last hits if they're like me, or I'm tooting my own horn. If they're a good player, they can get some pretty good last hits, right? And I've demonstrated that a bit on my stream. That's what I was trying to say. And usually they can get, 20, 30 last hits maybe by minute 10 if they're lucky. With that gold, they can usually buy some pretty cheap, cost-efficient items that are that help them sustain their HP and help them obviously help other areas of the map like TP scrolls and Urn, such that they can roam, get a few kills, more accurately get a few assists, and then turn that assist gold into a quote big item. It's a big item for them. It's 2,000 gold, right? 2,000 gold is a Blink Dagger. 2,000 gold is a mechanism. 2,000 gold is a veil. 2,000 gold is an Aether Lens if that floats your boat. Or this is the big one that we're talking about here today. This is where I'm trying to address Midas, right? 2,000 gold is a Midas. But why would you not want a Midas, right? That is because of this graph. Midas hits around here. You get your Midas around when you're here. Why would you want to get an item that bolsters you in the future when you're best suited for right now, right? Why would you want to get an item that says, hey, fuck this stage of the game, I'm looking at later, when this is your best stage of the game? You are best right here from a damage perspective and like a damage utility net worth, right? I do not condone, I think condone is to support. I do not condemn Midas on everybody, and I do think that there is a time and a place in which it could be considerable to get a Midas on her spirit, okay? But most of those games where I'm like, he could get a Midas here, I'm usually thinking, why do you even pick Earth Spirit here? That's like when they have a PL or a Slark, just a bunch of heroes that don't give a fuck about you and your damage. I'm just like, you might as well get a Midas and get a Nocturne and Ags. But in those games, I'm like, probably any other not any other, but there's a lot of other offlaners that would have just done Earth Spirit's job better here, right? As support, I don't really like support Earth Spirit, so I wouldn't play support Earth Spirit. If you had to get a Midas on any kind of Earth Spirit, though, I'd probably prefer it on support Earth Spirit, just so you can constantly keep up, because Earth Spirit just doesn't work anymore, I don't think, as a position 5. Like, it just doesn't. Unless you get some amazing roams, which there's better roaming heroes than Earth Spirit out there. There's better 5-position roaming heroes out there, in my opinion, than Earth Spirit. But if you want to play him support, then there you go. You've heard, that's like my TLDRs. I don't really like it. If you want to do it and you get some good roams, then I guess it can work. If you have to build Midas, I would rather you get it on a position 5 Earth Spirit than a position 3 Earth Spirit for these reasons right here. Position 5 Earth Spirit doesn't really care about... Here's the graph for position 5 Earth Spirit, right? You're like this, right? Like... Over time, you will only get more utility. You'll pretty much never deal any damage, or any significant damage, I don't think. Except for with your ulti, which, in some fights, as we talked about earlier, is wishful thinking, because not all fights last an hour. So yeah, okay. I think that's it. I think that's it on the Midas discussion. I don't like the item. I think it ignores the best part of the hero, which is the mid-game, the level 11 stride. Like, when you're level 11, it takes you 2,200 EXP to get you to your next level. The level before that, getting from level 10 to 11, took like 900 EXP. Okay, level 11 It's like the longest level in the game, barring level 18 to 9, or not even 18 to 9. I think it's like 19 to 20 or something. It takes like 100. We all know this, right? It takes 200 experience to hit from level 1 to level 2. Then I think it's 300 from level 2 to level 3. Then it's like 400, and then it scales in a weird way. Some levels have, it's fucking weird. We can look at it right now, actually. Dota 2 leveling. We'll look at it real quick. As long as, I mean, if I'm gonna make this video, 15 minutes long, I may as well make it 16. All right. Here's all you need to know. Okay. Fuck. Never mind. Okay, here it is. Yes. All right. Level 1 to level 2, it takes 200 EXP. 2 to 3 takes 100 EXP. Right. What? Yeah. 200, and then it takes 100. And then it... Am I reading this correctly? No, I'm not reading this correctly. I'm sorry. Okay. Level 1. Experience required for next level. This is all I need to care about. It takes 200 to get from level 1 to level 2, 300 to get from level 2 to level 3, 400 to get from level 3 to 4, then 500 for 4 to 5, right? And then 600 for 5 to 6, and then another 600 from 6 to 7, and then another 600 from 7 to 8, but then it jumps up to 1200. So to get from level 8 to level 9, it takes 1200 EXP. This is why, like, you may notice, like, a stagnation of levels at these two levels right here. It's because it kind of fucking, you need a lot of EXP. You need double the EXP that you needed to get from level 7 to level 8. To get from level 8 to level 9, if that makes sense. Like, you needed 600 to get from level 7 to 8, then you needed 1200 to get from 8 to 9. Anyways, not trying to beat a dead horse. And then you have a very brief period again at level 10 where you're like, okay, sweet, I'm back to level 5, 6, and 7's leveling period. And then, boom! 2,200 EXP to get from level 11 to level 12. Why is this? I have theories that I won't talk about unless you guys really want me to make a video about it, but basically, this is to make sure that, like, there's like this solidifies a few things. It solidifies your build. Basically, if you want to take points and stats early game, you get punished heavily because you have a long leveling period from level 11 to level 12. And if you take any points and stats early game, you can't go 4-4-1. You can't get 4 points in one ability, 4 points in another ability, and then 1 value point in one other ability. If you get any level of stats, you can't do that build. You either have to not maximize one ability, or you just can't get that one other ability for a value point. Also, I don't know. Maybe I'm not reading enough far into it, or maybe I'm reading too far into it, but I think this helps supports in some way. I think that having every hero stay at a lower level, kind of, right? Unless their EXP per minute is insane. Right? Having everybody stagnate at level 11 kind of draws the game out at a period of time in which people are lower leveled. And as we know, your health increases per level, and spells wane as the game goes on, and heroes get more HP. It's just a theory, but whatever. Like, you stay at level 11 for a very long period of time. This is where you're, like, locked in. When you hit level 11 as Earth Spirit, you're like, it's like fucking go time, man. Like, if you haven't been going up until that point, start fucking going, because this is when you have the most damage that you do out of your entire kit, basically, right? You have both of your nukes maxed out, and then your W, which is your mobility, and also your nuke, it stays the same at all damage levels. It goes down in cooldown, so you can use it more often as you hit level 16 or level 15 or 14, which means you could theoretically get some more damage, but most of the time, you really only need that 1 or 2 Ws to get a kill in the mid-game. And then you are technically missing out on 2 levels, or on 1 level of your ulti. And I misspoke earlier. You can go 4-4-1-2. You can get 1 max nuke, another max nuke, 1 value point in your last ability that you haven't really touched too much, and then your ulti you can get 2 points in at level 11. If you do take any points in stats before level 11, then you can still max out one of your nukes, you can still max out the other nuke, and then you can still get 1 value point in your other ability, but you can only have 1 point in your ulti. Basically, none of those are appealing to Earth Spirit. Earth Spirit wants all of his abilities maxed, right? Like you'd want, hypothetically speaking, if you start the game with all your abilities maxed, I think most heroes in the game would take it, but Earth Spirit would definitely take it, because nuke damage, mobility, if you can, Boulder Smash is nuke's damage, or Geomagnetic Grip is nuke damage, Rolling Boulder is mobility and damage in some ways because of the cooldown, and then your ulti is just damage, right? It's 25 damage a level per second, right? That's insane. Insane value every single point. So Yeah, this is when, like, it's go time. You got 2 levels in your ulti, you got both your nukes maxed, you've got that 1 value point in your mobility, like, fucking boom, you know? But if you get a Midas at this point, right, if you have Arcane Boots, Bottle, and you just get your Midas at this point, which is generally, if you're in the offlane and you're not shit-wrecking your opponents, that's what's going to happen. It's just... it feels you know? It's like you're spending the time in which you're the most powerful hero in the game, probably even, because, like, there's not a whole lot of heroes in whatever game you're playing at level 11 as Earth Spirit. You're probably going to be the strongest, assuming it's a equal playing field for everybody and nobody's on a monstrous kill spree. Why would you want to convert that gold into a Midas and then, like, it's, I don't know, it's like sticking an axe right through here and going like this or something like that. Like, it just doesn't work for me, so... Anyways, I'm sorry this video dragged on, but that's what I wanted to talk about in terms of Earth Spirit and Midas and shit like that. I now want to talk very, very briefly about the channel and about my absence still. I'm not going to go too much into my life, because I don't really like to talk to my life, or talk about my life with you guys yet. Maybe I'll get more comfortable over time, but basically, I kind of fell into a depression that didn't really stem from Dota, but like a bunch of real life things kind of happened, and I fell into kind of a depression. Notice I said I fell into a depression. I'm not depressed. I just kind of fell into a depression, if that makes sense. Like I guess I don't suffer from chronic depression. I'm just kind of sad right now about a lot of things in my life, and that's kind of like holding me back from playing Dota. As you can see, I'm playing Path of Exile right now. It's just kind of like a mindless hack and slash game, and I like to, you know, play those kinds of games every once in a while. I do plan on going back to Dota, and hopefully videos like these demonstrate that I'm not out of the loop yet. I'm totally down to continue playing Dota at some point that is not predetermined yet, but soon, okay? So anyways, I do appreciate your patience with me. Thank you very much for all your support, and yeah, I'll see you guys later.